What's up, Breaker Army? I wanted to bring you all a different type of video. This is something a lot of you have been asking over the years, basically just giving you all my input, feedback, and everything surrounding Yu-Gi-Oh! This particular video, and I hope I'd end up doing a lot more of these depending on what your guys' feedback is, will be the hot take of should you collect Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2025, the good versus the bad. And so what that means, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is kind of in an interesting state as of 2025, end of 2024, with a lot of other TCGs booming and everybody's like, what's going to happen? What's coming up next? And so I hope you guys end up liking this video. If you end up liking it, obviously like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what your thoughts are. If there's any conflicting opinions, of course, we can just go ahead and get a whole debate going down below in the comment section. And that's kind of what I hope to do, hope to accomplish with this type of video. Create some interest, create some spark in the community, engagements and everything. That way you guys can give me your feedback and input and hopefully do some more content just like this. That way you guys can vote down below what you guys want to hear me talk about next. But before this becomes a big rambling video, I do actually have some key talking points that I want to go over. This video is going to be probably very little edits and things like that. I might pop up some stuff on the screen just as we're going through it. But I want to talk about what it means to be a collector in 2025. Obviously, you guys know that I am mostly a collector. I'm hoping to actually get some more content, either like this or dueling content, something like that to change up the channel. And don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be actually planning to open more products, do more box breaks, all the usual stuff, collection buys, things like that for 2025, and hopefully keep that going. But you guys know that I am mostly a collector, and that's where my heart lies. I am mostly a vintage collector. I do have my hands in a couple modern cards. There's a couple quarter century rares, a couple Starlight rares that do actually pique my interest. In 2025, obviously vintage cards are not being reprinted, but what is new and what's different is there's a lot of sets, most notably Rarity Collection 1, 2, Bonanza, we have quarter century, the Stampede that's coming out, where we get a lot of those vintage cards that are being reprinted in different rarities. And so what that means, in case you guys haven't been keeping up with all the news and all the different cards that have come out, we have cards like, say for example, Monster Reborn. That was reprinted in a Super, Ultra, Secret, the Platinum Rare, the Prismatic Collector's Rare, the Prismatic Ultimate Rare, and then the Quarter Century Rare. There's been so many different rarities of a lot of cards. And what's really cool with Bonanza as well, and why I'm actually a big fan of it, is you had that nostalgic pull set where it was 200 cards. You had the Platinum Secret Rares and the Quarter Century Rares. Again, I understand those rarities aren't for everybody. People like their simple, just holographic cards. And that's where things kind of get different. Your vintage collectors, people want the simple stuff, maybe some ultimate rares. But a lot of everybody that is a nostalgic collectors, they remember back in the day. They remember the supers, the ultras, the secrets, and that's pretty much it. Another part of this little key topic for what it means to collect in 2025 are the rarity chases. So I kind of talked about it a little bit in that previous point. So the rarity chases, obviously for 2025, we actually have an ending for quarter century rares. So like, what's coming up next? What's to come after quarter century rares are done? Is Konami going to go back to Starlight rares? And I don't want to talk too much about this subject because we're going to talk more about it later on with some of my other talking points. But that's been the theme for the last couple years. We had obviously Starlight rares that came out. That was the big chase for everybody. And then what, 2-ish years ago, we had the 25th anniversary that's been going on for way too long. So, obviously the big chase has been, quarter century rares. Here and there, a couple different prize cards, but that's like a very, very niche part of the community. Not everybody can afford prize cards, and everybody really wants prize cards. Most people are just trying to go with whatever they can actually use to collect. And so again, going back to the whole point of this key point here is what it means to collect for rarity, modern versus vintage. And so modern cards, most everything is going to be considered playable. There's very little collectability when it comes to modern stuff because Konami just reprints everything. Nothing is sacred, nothing is safe. Take example, Stardust Dragon, Starlight Rare. So like when that came out for Dawn of Majesty, it was huge. It was $700, $800 plus. Now take a look at it. It's what, maybe 300, 400, 350, somewhere around there. It's crazy because they actually reprinted it as a quarter century rare. So like, what is Konami thinking when they do that type of stuff? I don't know. Obviously, they have their own methods and theories, and they think it's going to perform very well. And then some sides of it's cool. Some sides you get to actually spend a lot less money. For a quarter century rare version of a Stardust Dragon is what, maybe 10 bucks, 15 bucks. Maybe not even that. I don't really know off the top of my head right now. But, when you compare it to a Starlight Rare, it's way astronomical, 100 times, not really 100, but whatever the actual equation comes out to as far as how much more that card actually is. But it makes cards that people can actually collect, and they want those shiny cardboard because at the end of the day, that's what we really like, is shiny cardboard. And the last little bullet point I want to reference with our first key talking point is what's easy/inexpensive to collect. And again, so what that means is Konami's done a lot of good things, referencing quarter century rares, obviously with Bonanza, Rarity Collection, all that stuff, is they actually gave us a lot of alternatives with the Prismatic Collector's Rares, the Prismatic Ultimate Rares, and even some like Tournament Pack Ultimate Rares. Like obviously, they kind of snuck in some stuff, like take example, the Exodia card they printed, Exodia Head, they printed as an Ultimate Rare. Not the best looking Exodia, obviously Exodia Ultimate Rare, but it is kind of cool because they're kind of bringing us those modern rarities for vintage cards, but it's also really cheap. Like that card's like 10 bucks. So you can actually collect some really cool rarities. Again, prismatic collector's rares and ultimate rares are super cheap as long as you're not buying the playable cards like, you know, Triple Tactics Talent, Ash Blossom, all the different stuff like that. You know, SP Little Knight, things like that. Those are expensive because they're playable, but when you're trying to collect cards that you just, you know, purely like based off the artwork, you know, how the way it looks, there's all different ways you can actually collect stuff on a really, really small budget. Like if you were to go into Rarity Collection 1, 2, 3, you know, upcoming with Stampede, I'm sure you could complete a whole entire binder. A lot of really awesome looking cards because of all the quarter century rares that have come out. And there's obviously some pros and cons, you know, to that one, because they've kind of overproduced quarter century rares, really diminishes like what it means to actually collect a like hard to get card with quarter century rares. That I personally believe, I think they should have made them just, you know, maybe not just the scarce of Starlight rares, but something that, you know, where you feel really good when you pull it. Because a lot of the times you pull the QCR, it's $5, $10, maybe 20 if you're talking about like a core set. But that's just crazy. You know, that is honestly really kind of like it pushes people away from wanting to open modern sets because, oh, you know, I'm going to spend $70, $80 on this set. I'm going to pull a trash secret rare, maybe get a quarter century rare, and what do you know, it's like 20 bucks. And even some collector's rares, like some of the side sets, the deck building sets. Like I pulled one of those, I think it's Rizio, however you pronounce the archetype. I pulled a collector's rare of that, one of the trap cards. I get it, it's a trap card. It's like $5. It's crazy, you know, how cheap some of these cards are. So, and you know, I sound like I'm complaining, but I'm really not, because you can actually build a really awesome, especially collector's rare collection for a very small amount of money. So that's the one good thing Konami is kind of doing in 2025. And the next key point that I want to bring up is a state of the market in 2025. I know we talked about a bunch in those first key points, and a lot of that's going to bleed into this first or the second one here, and possibly even our last one as well. But, you know, the state of the market is kind of wild. Again, like I mentioned before, Pokemon, I don't want to bring up all the other TCGs too often, but Pokemon, One Piece, Magic have been performing so well in comparison to Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's because Konami just continues to reprint stuff. You know, they're really, I don't think they're listening to the fans, the people that actually collect. You know, the one thing they are doing really well is they're listening to the players, because people obviously need more cards, they need more rarities, and they don't necessarily need more rarities, they just need more, it needs to be more accessible. And so that's what Konami's doing whenever they print stuff like the Bonanza, the Rarity Collection. They basically take a card that got released 6 months ago, and then it comes out in like a side set or you know, some random core set, something like, you know, a special set like Bonanza, Rarity Collection, things like that. Now all of a sudden we have 1 million reprints, which is good. You know, that is great, because, you know, at the end of the day, Yu-Gi-Oh, for the, you know, majority of people, it is more about dueling. It's about, you know, building decks, you know, theory crafting, all different ways that you can have some fun when you're dueling against somebody. But it does also hurt, you know, the collectible side of things. And that goes, you know, with the state of the market. I think a lot of cards are being hurt because of this. Like if you look at a lot of vintage cards, some vintage cards are continuing to go down because of those reprints, because of those nostalgic reprints in Bonanza. You know, obviously we're getting the Platinum Secret Rares, we're getting the quarter century rares, but a lot of cards have come down. So, and on the flip side, you know, it's nice because you get to actually collect more cards for less money. But, you know, for those of you that have been holding for a long time, or you're like, okay, I'm going to buy this because it's going to go up, you know, X amount of money, which obviously don't take any of this stuff as financial advice, please. But, you know, just be careful, because Konami obviously has a history of reprinting stuff. Take it back, like way back in the day with Dark Beginning 1, Dark Revelation, things like that. They were obviously reprinting stuff from the get-go because they knew that people were mainly focusing on playing the game. They needed to reprint these cards, and that's where things kind of just start to take a downturn when it comes to the collecting side of things. I'm going to wrap our 2 bullet points within this last key point kind of all in one, because it's talking about how collectors, you know, collectors are obviously eating really well right now, myself included, because I'm able to get a lot of cards for really a low amount of money. Like, it's kind of crazy how much, you know, prices have dropped, even on sealed product. So that way, like, box breaks are going to be cheaper, you know, keep on the lookout for those. Box breaks are going to be cheaper, everything like that. But also at the same time, playable cards keep going up, because that is the, I think that's the shift that Konami's going to. You know, there's obviously some thoughts and opinions on what they could possibly do to make things better for everybody. Playable cards continue to rise. You know, obviously SP Little Knight, Triple Tactics Talent, there's so many cards. And even, you know, what is really cool, I will say this, Blue Eyes might be meta. It might be meta with the upcoming structure deck and everything else they're coming out for with the Blue Eyes archetype. I think Alliance Insight coming out later this year is going to be insane support for the cards like Dragon of Pride and Soul. I think it's the Ultimate Dragon of Pride and Soul, whatever it's called. There's a new, I forget the name of it, starts with an R, like a new Regina, something like that, that allows you to actually utilize those cards a little bit better. So that is the kind of cool thing they're starting to kind of like incorporate some of her thoughts, but I still feel like they're missing something. Again, the collector's piece and everything for the vintage cards, some of them are staying okay, but a lot of them are continuing to drop. I mean, it could be because people are leaving the hobby. You know, they're like, okay, Yu-Gi-Oh really isn't going anywhere. They're going to go to Pokemon, because a lot of those people aren't true collectors. And that's, you know, that's where you kind of have to draw a line, because people that are true collectors, they're never going to sell their cards. They're going to hold on to them because they actually are passionate about the hobby. And then there's people who are flippers, or they're only in it for the money. And so of course they're going to sell their cards for less money to go into other TCGs or other interests or other hobbies, because they can make some money. You know, at the end of the day, some people, that's all they care about is just the money. Me, I'm more in it because 1, I like the community, 2, I like making content, and then 3, obviously I like having shiny cardboard to look at. Makes you kind of feel all nice and bubbly and warm on the inside. However, obviously there is a downside to everything. So with Konami continuing to do what they're doing, it is going to continue to hurt things a little bit for a little while. You know, obviously things have been kind of in a weird position. You know, for those of you that have been keeping up with the market, faded stuff has been booming. Faded, wavy stuff, glossy stuff. And that's one thing that I think that a lot of collectors are reaching for. I'll kind of reference Omar / Strictly Sealed in this, because he actually had a really good talking point on his recent live stream. I don't listen to everything he says, but obviously he actually has a lot of really good talking points. And Omar, I don't mean that in any form of disrespect in case you do watch this video, because you have to listen to what people say and then kind of form your own opinion on it. Obviously that's what I want you guys to do with this video, but getting back on track here. So he actually had a point where, or an opinion and a statement where he feels like, you know, faded collectors are really trying to push the very niche market of, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh that is faded stuff, because of Yu-Gi-Oh's kind of downturn right now. And so in a way, like that's good. It creates interest, it creates a buzz around the hobby. You know, with that being said, it's going to be temporary. You know, this stuff is going to come down. I remember, I think it was 1.5 years, 2 years ago, faded stuff boomed up and then it came back down a little bit. So it's just something that, in a way, I think it's good that people are trying to, you know, create this like false scarcity and, you know, false realization that, oh, these cards, you know, these cards are really cool to collect. And everybody's like, they have this fear of missing out, this FOMO that you should please steer away from. You know, I love faded cards myself. I'm working on a first edition, you know, near max / like heavy faded holo set for, you know, meta raiders. Like, I'm not wanting to pay the astronomical price that everybody's charging. And that's just where it's gone to. People are like trying to create this hype around this product, which again is good. It looks cool. You know, obviously it's based on your opinions, but it is all, it feels like it's a play. It's definitely temporary. I don't feel like it's here to last. You know, again, Omar, credit to you for bringing that up. I was like, okay, this is actually a really great topic, really great point to bring up during this video, because it makes sense. You know, because it makes sense. People are going to do that with other hobbies, other various TCGs. If I had to assume, if something was slowing down, they're going to create a way to drive and create some buzz, create some stir in the community to be like, oh, these cards are amazing, and then everybody's going to gravitate towards them. And what that does at the end of the day, it brings more interest into the hobby because people are talking about it more. So I really hope that all makes sense. And my last key point I want to talk about is what's to come for 2025. At the point of recording, this is January 15th, so it's early into the year. So, you know, obviously we have Supreme Darkness coming out. We have the, I forget the name of it, it's like the structure deck for the Blue Eyes one. We have Quarter Century Stampede. We have Alliance Insight. So that's as far as we know so far for, you know, the state of Yu-Gi-Oh. So what is really cool though, obviously the Quarter Century rares are ending, which could be good. You know, obviously there's a lot of pros and cons with that. You know, got you kind of thinking like, what's next? Are they going to go back to Starlight rares? Are they going to do something like a new rarity? Are they going to do full arts? Are they going to do alternate arts? Which, you know, one thing the OCG is doing really well right now, basically, is they're starting to actually implement and introduce more alternate arts. You know, we saw that with sets like Maximum Gold, where we had alternate arts. I think it was Eldritch had one, Black Rose had one, Red Eyes, all different stuff where we had never seen before. And so it was really cool to get to see those. And so the OCG is actually doing that with a set coming up. It's either, I think it's coming out in the next month or so. It could be coming out sooner, but it's like Quarter Century Art Collection, I think is the name of it, or something along those lines. But it's really cool because they're bringing us alternate art. So I hope that's what's to come in 2025 for the TCG side of things as well. You know, not just for the OCG. They always give a lot of love to the OCG. I'm hoping that starts to come our way. Please give it to us. You know, with the end of Quarter Century rares, we have to have something. I think that's one thing that would be cool to bring back more are ghost rares. You know, it's been, what is it, 2 years now since we had ghost rares from Ghost in the Past 2. Well, actually, I think, was it last year? Was it last year we had the Legendary Duelist Soul Burning Volcano? Was that the year before? Man, I think that was the year before. But, you know, that was the last set that had a ghost rare, and Konami did a great job. You know, the previous ghost rares from Ghost in the Past and the other Legendary Duelists, they looked horrible. But that Sunlight, whatever wolf it was, actually looked so nice. So I really hope they listen to us and actually make the ghost rares look nice, because that is huge potential. But, you know, let me know what your guys' thoughts are on what the next rarity should be or is going to be, or what we should go back to. Should we go back to Starlights? You know, the thing with Starlights, remember guys, it's 1 per every 2 cases. 1 per 2 cases. So I don't know if you want that same scarcity and same rarity. And in a way, it's nice because it creates desirability, collectability. It makes you want to hold on to a set for the long term because you're like, okay, this could be fun to open later on. And that rare chance we're going to get some type of big pull. But at the same time, you know, we've kind of been spoiled with quarter century rares. So like my initial thoughts are like, oh, that would kind of suck. But at the same time, it's nice to have that chase because it makes you want to open product, actually, you know, spend money to open it, which at the end of the day is a good thing for, you know, Konami. It's a good thing for local stores, you know, bad thing for your wallet, but it does make some fun stuff to actually rip and, you know, try and pull the good stuff. And my last point I want to touch on, we've already kind of touched on a little bit, is what's next. Obviously, there's been some kind of speculation, some stir, some buzz that Rush Duel is coming to the TCG. They've kind of like hinted at it a little bit. Speed Duel is ending, so that could bring some really cool things to come for Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2025. I think Rush Duel is great. I think they have some of the coolest artwork. They obviously have the full extended arts. Yeah, I think there's still some improvements they can make on those. I think they need to get rid of that like over rush rare where it's like crystallized and weird. It takes away from the artwork. Like when we look at a Yu-Gi-Oh! Card, we don't look at it because, you know, we had the cards back in the day like starter deck Blue Eyes, the starter deck kind of a Blue Eyes, starter deck Yugi, Dark Magician. Things like that looked amazing. You know, again, you know, referencing Omar because he actually has a lot of really great points and opinions, is the portrait artwork that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has and performs so well. The Dark Paladin, think about that from what is it? The DMG the Duel Master Guide. And then obviously from the air artwork from Magician's Force. We obviously have cards like like I mentioned before with the Blue Eyes, the Dark Magician. There's so many cards, Summon Skull. There's so many cards that just the artwork is so, it's simplistic, but it's unique to Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's what I think is creating some problems with collecting in 2025. In the last couple years, there's really nothing unique to Yu-Gi-Oh! You know, do I think them bringing in full arts and things like that is unique? It's not at all. But it will actually kind of help people who collect those other TCGs like, oh man, my new card, like one of my favorite cards is now new in a full art. And I think that's cool. You know, I do think it's cool. Do I think that's going to solve all our problems? Not at all. I think there's more to kind of dive into. Obviously, you guys can let me know down below what you think. I do think Rush Duel is going to be pretty exciting. And to kind of like wrap up the rest of this video before it gets too long, we're at roughly 24 minutes in recording. I don't want to, you know, ramble on for too long. You know, what is cool, Rush Duel has its own anime coming out. I think it's like this weekend, which is so cool. So I haven't watched any of Rush Duel. Don't know what it looks like on the Japan side if they've actually done that. But Rush Duel is coming out, and we've actually got the remaster for the GX anime. There's the new animated series coming out, I think in April. I think both the GX remaster and the new animated series are in April, which is really cool. So big things to come in April because I think that's, oh gosh, so they're going all out in April because Alliance Insight, I believe that's April as well. It could be May. Can't remember. It's somewhere around there, like end of April, early May, somewhere around there. So there's a lot of cool stuff to come, guys. There's a lot of speculation because we don't know what's to come after Alliance Insight. We don't know what the next rarity is. We don't know if they're going to do anything more for the anime. It's a lot of stuff. You know, let me know. There was some back and forth, you know, contradictions, I would believe, inside of my arguments because there's some really good pros, there's some really good pros, really bad cons, you know, when it comes to collecting in 2025. So let me know down below, guys, if you agree with some of my points, if you disagree with some of my points, if you have other opinions, if you want to see more videos like this with me just giving you my thoughts, my opinions on the hobby, because at the end of the day, you know, I am a collector. You know, I like this hobby. I'm really invested. I'm really interested in it. And I care about your guys' opinion. So if there's something you want me to talk about, let me know down below and we can cover it for next video. I do have to give a massive shout out to my channel members, Sargoni YT, K-Dragon, Mark Donnelly, Cody Slater, Josh Evans, Michael P. Sutton, Lazy Dane, Evan Rudolph, Allison Snell, Will Breaks TCG, Ram22, Roland Pryor, Austin and Kayla, Ghost King TCG, Capiba, Derek Williams, King Louie, Toe and Fo Show, Battle Phase, and Opening Act. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. I do hope you have a nice day. Hope you have a nice night. I will see you guys in the next one. This is CardBreaker. I'm out.